Ladies and gentlemen, just to let you all know, we are starting at 7 o'clock sharp. In the meantime, go ahead and listen to some of Monster Cat music. We'll be back at 7.
Testing 1, 2. Hey, good evening, Edson. How are you?
Telling me it's so clear to see.
Test, test. I'm having trouble hearing you. Yeah. All right. Well, I just changed my phone to speaker, and I can hear you now. Can you hear me? All right. Yeah.
Find out. We've got so much that we can work out. There's still so much that we can find out. We've got so much that we can work out. There's still so much that we can find out. Oh, oh, oh. It's a whole different story now. Oh, oh, oh. It's a whole different story now.
Es evidente que Alba, al igual que Maru, la amiga de la que me has platicado, abusaron de medidas efectivas. Para que sigan lo que ellos hacían, yo no me di cuenta, doctora. Yo creí que estaban con amigas. Las situaciones de confianza de las mismas razones no se pueden para que
Okay, that's fine.
Bien, fue exactamente lo que escucharon. Quiero casarme con verdades que Absalom me lo cree.
Lo siento mucho, pero no puedo permitirlo.
Padre,
Después de lo que sucedió con Joan, no voy a entregar a mi hija sin saber exactamente lo que está pasando. Es simple, señor Rabina.
I heard all. Alright, cool.
All right, guys. Sorry for the delay. Just kind of a little bit rushed because hashtag Houston traffic and hashtag Houston Texans playing. So traffic is completely horrible right now on 610 and 288. But we're here. We're ready to go for another episode of Down in the Valley. Thank you so much to all of the 6 people that are watching right now. Really greatly appreciate it. Be sure to leave a like. And like always, the chat is open for y'all to give your some sort of comments during the show. We do have as well, the phone lines will be open, guys. So I know all of y'all RGV fans have some frustrations, in regards to yesterday's match. Ray and I will be talking about it later on. But the phone lines will be open for you guys to give your takes, give your opinions, vent about the team. because honestly, when the organization listens to your concerns straight from yourself, away from the anonymity of social media, it makes a bigger impact. Hearing the voices of the fans, saying what they don't like about this team, et cetera, et cetera. So the platform is there. It's going to be open for you all throughout the show tonight. The phone number is 956-622-5977. Once again, the number is 956-622-5977. So be sure if you guys want to call and go ahead and do so. We also have, and the link is in the description, we also have the tipping link. If you guys would like to tip us with anything you want, $1, $3, $5, you guys want to pay the rent here in this apartment, we're more than happy to do so. I mean, it's not required. This isn't a subscription of anything. We greatly appreciate, even if it's just a like, a share, a comment. We really greatly subscribe to the channel. We greatly appreciate it, because it helps us a lot by you doing that. Before we get started, I do want to say that today Jacob isn't available, but we do have Rey Silva on the show today. Rey, how are you doing?
Hey, good evening, Edson. Always a pleasure to join in tonight in place of Jacob, who is somehow strangely celebrating Texas A&M football.
Thank you. Well, I mean, I didn't want to say anything, but hey, it's all right. I mean, isn't it the beginning of the season? I can't blame him.
Well, at least for him it is.
Well, I mean, you know what they say. Alex Centeno, he says, hello, 100%. I like your cup. Thank you so much, man. Really, really appreciate it. We hope to get some sort of cups like these. Or actually, next time I go down there, I need to buy a souvenir cup for the Toros, because we're full of Dynamo cups here in this apartment, and no Toros. I have the Toros shot, but obviously I can't be drinking in the middle of a live stream, so makes no sense. So anyways, before we start, actually, I do want to let you guys know, be sure to check out our website, which is downintheRGV.com. After the show, I will be posting the new wallpapers that were commissioned for Down in the Valley and made by Akiname, AKYNA. I totally forgot. I'll tell you this right now. So he is a graphic designer. Akianime. AKYNANYME. At AKYNANYME. He is a graphic designer, and I commissioned for him to do some wallpapers for Down in the Valley of some RGVFC players. So be sure to check out the website. We'll be posting there so you can download them for your PC as well as for your mobile phone. Be sure to also check out our articles while you're there. Check out as well our SoundCloud, YouTube, Stitcher, Google Play Store, and the Apple Store. Where we have our podcasts that are posted up there. Thanks to our friends from the Beautiful Game Network. Be sure to check them out at the BGNFM on Twitter and on Facebook and on the website bgn.fm, where not only our podcasts are hosted there as well, but also other USL podcasts like Backchat Show, Rising S1, Sock Takes, etc. Be sure to also check out our friends at BGN Written, where Rey Silva writes for them. I believe yesterday when was it that you released an article?
Tuesday. It was Tuesday morning.
Yes.
It was my condensed preview of the South Texas Derby, in which I face planted miserably thanks to my PC failures.
Well, it's not like it's. I mean, we can't expect. I mean, even my PC could explode at any minute now. I mean, we never know.
Yeah.
Charlie Flores, welcome to the stream, man. We hope you enjoyed today's show. Blues fan says, Rey, way to throw him under the bus. talking about Jacob. So,
You
anyways,
know, I kept thinking that Blues fan, Blues fan kept. He had some free shots at me yesterday during the game. I'm like, oh well, you know what? Let me try to reach out and get him. So I finally got him back.
wow. You'll have to let me know how you got him back. But nah, Blues fan is
I
pretty
called him
cool.
out. I called him out.
Blues fan's pretty cool. I met him last time before the last match at the Houston Dynamo. It was before the Frisco match when I met him in
Yeah.
person for the first time. He's a pretty cool guy. He's gonna be there at the Frisco match this Saturday. But heading back into topic. Really appreciate you guys that you guys are here watching. And I guess we can go ahead. Oh, also before I go on, be sure to check out the BGN's sponsor, which is Roughneck Scarves. They are the official scarf supplier of USL, MLS, and NCAA. Check them out at roughneckscarves.com. Let me drink some water because my mouth's getting dry after speaking all that much. Good old water. All right. Having said all of this, I think it's ready that we go ahead and start. And Ray, it's a sad day for Toros Nation at this moment. Yesterday, we had high hopes that the Toros would put on a good showing against our heated rivals, our biggest rival, San Antonio FC. Wait, do I have it here? Oh, yeah. Thank you,
Well,
Ray. Thank you, Harry. So this team right here beat us at home, and the way they beat us. I didn't like it. I didn't like the end results, and I know you were there in person at HEB Park last night. What did you see coming into this game?
what I saw, based on the previews, San Antonio came in with a sense of urgency. And what I mean with the sense of urgency, they had already lost their previous four in a row matches, and the Toros were coming up an upswing trip from California where they managed to get 4 of the 6 points. Now, like I said it in my preview, you can throw team forms out of the window because it's a rivalry game. You want to pretty much play the best of the best uh, and bring it out so that fans can run away happy with the result. And San Antonio came in and pretty much crashed the party during the second half. I mean, they pretty much dominated the entire second half, and we had our fair share of opportunities to even have the game at 3-0, and we just had a lot of missed opportunities during the first half. And San Antonio was able to take care of those chances, and of course, defensive lapses did not help during the match.
Honestly, we keep on repeating that word almost every game this season. Mental lapses, mental lapses, mental lapses, mental lapses, mental lapses. Aren't you getting tired of having to continuously use the word this season? I mean,
Well,
we're not in the beginning of the season. We are 2/3 of the way into the season, all in the closing matches of the season of 2018, and we still have the same mental mistakes happening with this defense.
here's a challenging question to any of us contributors and writers. When have we had a solid, consistent back four? You know, so uh, the, sometimes the practice schedule allow the, the doesn't allow the team to mesh a solid back four line to really mesh in. And you brought it up last night after the game when we had our conversation with Manny Padilla's play. Okay, um, all of a sudden you lose a guy in Kyle Adams and who had a severely good form. He gets dropped out of favor for Manny Padilla. And then you've had Sheldon Sullivan, who's been playing absolutely well. And then you also have uh, Ontiveros playing in that back line along with Connor Donovan and Derek Luke. So we haven't had that solid defensive line for quite some time. Yes, you're exempt from making a change or two due to fatigue and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
uh, had they started per se a Kyle Adams over Manny Padilla or maybe even a Kai Green, um, maybe I felt the result could have been a little bit different. But such thing didn't happen, and credit to San Antonio, they did what they needed to do.
My question is, I mean, because you're mentioning Kyle Adams, but yet Kyle Adams, yes, in the beginning of the season, he was used as a left back because Derek Luke never really recovered completely from his knee surgery. He still looked very slow, and so we really didn't have anybody else. I believe either Sheldon Sullivan was still not part of the team, or
No, Sheldon Sullivan came in a little bit later.
that's what I figured, and it doesn't help that in that aspect, the organization, who was running it at that time, there was absolutely no transparency in that regard when it came to player signings, when it came to transactions in general. I mean, you had a couple of players that, yes, they were announced at the beginning of the season. But then, like, for example, Sheldon Sullivan, like, all of a sudden, oh, who's him? Where did he come from? And we saw he did good. Excellent, fine. But the thing is, so Kyle Adams was used as a left back because of the lack of depth in that position.
Hey, and he did formidably well, And it's like in a process, if it ain't broken, if it ain't broke, why fix it, And he was doing a very formidable job,
Yeah, and I'll tell you what as well. The fact that also, I mean, later in the season, you had Kyle Adams play the center back pair. Not all the time, obviously, because there's been a lot of rotation. The best center back pairing that I have seen was obviously, and we said it since preseason, Connor Donovan, Kyle Adams. But the rotation, I think, has also messed up this team because we haven't had a consistent lineup in that back line. I know we've had been decent in the back line, but I think it's starting. This defense is starting to show their weaknesses, and because also of the ability that they're very what's the word I'm looking for? Help me out. AJ De La Garza said it, that they're inconsistent. That I feel like
maturity.
And I feel like we've gotten those mental lapses with the teams we shouldn't get. In this case, against our rival. We are going on a quick little break right now, guys. When we come back, we will have Brandon Morales, who is the RGVFC's first RGVFC Academy signing to the first team. So when we come back, we'll have the interview with him. After the interview, we'll continue to talk about the South Texas Derby match. And don't forget, guys, the phones are available. The phone is available for you guys to call after the interview, for you guys to call and give us your hot takes. That includes you, Harry. I know you're a San Antonio fan, but you're welcome to call as well, because I know you have some decent input on this match as well. So don't go away just yet. We will be right back.
Reaching out, and my heart is with you. so much in between, things we've never seen. You're a mirage that my mind can't see through. Are you here with me? One day we can see. And all my life, unbroken ways, but I know that time makes ways. But I know that time makes ways. And all my life, unbroken ways, but I know that time makes ways. But I know that time makes ways. Yeah, I know that time makes ways.
All right, guys, and welcome back to Down in the Valley. My name is Edson Ochoa. Accompanied with me is, like I said, my co-host and correspondent, Rey Silva. And right now, we actually have on the line, like I told you all before we went on break, we have Brandon Morales, who is RGVFC's first academy signing into the first team. Brandon, welcome to Down in the Valley, man. How are you doing right now?
Hi, how are you guys doing? I'm doing really good. Hope you guys have had an excellent day, and hopefully I can give you good answers to this interview.
Yeah, of course, man, dude. And don't worry, you'll be fine, man. Um, you did they show you the questions that I sent? Did you get to review them?
Yes,
All right,
yes, I
excellent.
got through. Yeah.
All right, excellent, man. So if you guys did not know this yet, guys who are listening right now live on YouTube, um, Brandon Morales was an academy player for RGVFC. He is a native of the Rio Grande Valley of native, I believe, Far, Texas. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And so just recently, a couple weeks ago, the team made the announcement that he was their first academy signing in the history of the club, and it's an honor, honestly, to have him on the show, and hope you guys can get to know him a little bit more. Guys from the Rio Grande Valley, as well as anybody from Houston as well. Because I know we have a lot of guys tuning in from Houston, so you're getting yourself known, Brandon.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. All right. So the first question that I want to ask you is talk to us a little bit about your childhood, Brandon.
Um, I would say that my childhood consisted mainly of soccer. It's been like that since I was little. I come from a Mexican background. I was born in the United States, and at the beginning, I had to live with my grandparents in Reynosa,
Mm-hmm.
and soccer dominates in Mexico, and especially in Reynosa, you see kids playing soccer everywhere. So I would go with my grandpa. He'd take us to the park. We'd see people playing around, and I was still too young to play, but just seeing the ball roll and seeing everybody playing and competing,
Mm-hmm.
it just made me fall in love with the sport.
And so my next question to you is, growing up with this background of, being surrounded by soccer, but what exactly, was there a certain experience or what was it that made you think, you know what, I want to make a career out of soccer?
I think it was around the age of 13 when my club team, Atlas Inicio,
Mm-hmm.
we went on to Houston, and several players got selected to move to Houston. And unfortunately, I wasn't selected, and it just made me um, be more hungry
Mm-hmm.
and want to be in the position that my other teammates were in. And since then, I knew that no matter what I did, if I put my mind to it, I can do it. And I just started working hard, training 4 times a week, and now I am where I am.
Definitely, man. So talk to us a little bit. Talk to us a little bit more about your club career with Atlas, with that academy. How long were you with them?
I was in Atlas Mission since I was 8 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I've been since I was 8 all the way till I was in 14.
Mm-hmm.
When I was 14, that was when I I got the opportunity to go on a trial for the Houston Dynamo Academy, and I
Mm-hmm.
was at the Houston Dynamo Academy for 6 months. Then I came back, and you know that's when the whole RGVFC Toros Academy began, and that's when the doors opened to this possibility here in the Valley.
Excellent. And for example, so when the RGVFC Academy opened up, as far for the opportunity, how difficult was it for you to transition? Because obviously, you're at an age where you still have to go to school. If I'm not mistaken, in high school years, you go with Idea Academy in for school. How difficult was it for you to balance soccer and school in order to be successful in both?
See, so I went to Idea Quest since first grade.
Mm-hmm.
I've been at Idea Quest from first grade all the way to my freshman year. Um, so I've never participated in, I guess, like, our school didn't really have a soccer team.
Mm-hmm.
I was always playing with the club team, which was Atlas Misio. And then the first semester of high school, my freshman year, is when I moved to the Dynamo Academy, and it was tough because when when I went to school, I would go to school from 7:45 to 3:30, and then it was a 2-hour drive all the way to the Houston Dynamo Sports Park because of the heavy traffic in Houston around the time,
Tell me about it.
and and then going to practice, then having to come back late, almost hitting 10 o'clock, and having homework.
Mm-hmm.
It was really difficult at the beginning because that wasn't something I was used to. Um, but with time, once I started, um, I guess once I started the RGVFC Academy with the Idea Toros, everything was just such an easier transition since I was able to manage my time,
Mm-hmm.
and it was just the transition from being at school and doing soccer was just so much easier for me.
You just got accustomed to the new lifestyle, and it kind of helped out in the long run.
Yes, no, at the school at Idea Toros, they really put school first,
Mm-hmm.
soccer second, or students before athletes, and I mean, they were always there to help me out with anything I needed. And I think it was super easy for me to be able to have the best of both worlds.
That's excellent, man. So, next question for you, Brandon, is which soccer player was your role model growing up as a child?
I would say my role model since I was a little kid, I would always be Ronaldinho.
Mm-hmm.
I just, as a little kid, you see him doing his the tricks and what he does, the way the crowd receives him in the stadium, and it was just something that I would look up to, and hopefully I can reach that one day. But now, once I grew up and actually reading reading some of his reading some of the articles about him and how he grew up, it's I sort of similar in the fact that I had to sometimes when there was no money play with a little rock,
Mm-hmm.
go out on the street with my friends, in the neighborhood, play, and finally getting the opportunity to move up to the first team. And I just think that you know, he's one of my role models in the soccer world.
Definitely, man. It's just something about Ronaldinho, the way he played soccer with such a smile on his face. Not only did he made it look easy, obviously he made it look fun, but he made you fall in love with the sport in no other way possible. At least that's where the emotions that I know a lot of people have about Ronaldinho on the pitch.
Yeah, no, most definitely. Something that, you know, I admire that no matter how tough it got, he would always have a smile on his face, and he just enjoyed playing soccer.
So fast forward a little bit towards present time. So you're continuing to go under the academy. Then one day they come at you. They tell you we're offering you a first team a contract with the first team. What was your reaction at that moment when they told you that you were ready to be part of the first team?
Um, it was it was a mix of emotions. Um, I was shocked at first, and then because when I got the offer to sign, or when they told me that it was a possibility, I was I had already committed to a Division 1 school,
Mm-hmm.
so I committed to the Air Force Academy, and I think I was like, what do I do now? Because my dream is to go pro, right? But
Yes.
I also feel like education is a big part of what of who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And I said my mom would not let me go. Well, my mom would not let me do just soccer. So it was a really tough decision, and it was just one of those decisions where I'm taking right now my gap year,
Mm-hmm.
where I'm doing some part-time college, and I'm still looking for a Division 1 school I can go and play.
Okay. Yeah. That.
Yeah.
So because you accepted, so basically because you accepted the offer from RGV, um, that school that you had committed to, was that I'm guessing that was put in the back burner for now.
Yes, I talked to the coaches and everything, and they still have my spot for next year. I just
Mm-hmm.
have to redo the application process. But right now, I'm just trying to fight for some minutes, and
Mm-hmm.
hopefully, I'm trying to fight for some minutes, and hopefully, I can get different universities on the radar.
Definitely. All right. So because you're the first academy player to be given a first team contract. Obviously, it feels awesome. The fact that you're the first of something that of your
Yeah.
class, pretty much. But do you feel
Yeah.
personally? Do you feel like there's, because you're the first, there's some sort of extra pressure for you?
Mm, in a way, there is, because I'm the beginning of many players that hopefully can get the opportunity to be with the pro team.
Mm-hmm.
But I I don't play with pressure. I don't like to think of it. I like to just know my goal and just play. Um, if you play with pressure, it gets sometimes it's mental,
Mm-hmm.
and it disturbs you and doesn't let you play the best soccer you can. So I never let the pressure get to me.
That's I really like what you mentioned as far as the pressure, because you're right. You're definitely 100% right that some too much pressure sometimes can affect you negatively, especially in such a mental game like soccer. So going on, so obviously, since you barely came up, a lot of people don't know much about you. So to the fans, how can you describe? First of all, what position do you usually play, and how can you describe your play style to the fans?
I'm a center attacking mid. Um, I love to see the field in a different way. I like to open up the spaces. I like to go 1v1. I like to maintain possession of the ball, but at the same time, I guess be a little egocentric in the sense that I also want to score and I also want to win.
So if you were to, like, let's say you were to say one specific soccer player that has a similar play style as you, how you described it, who would you say most closely resembles your play style?
I would say Sebastián Jovinko from Toronto FC.
Wow, that's and that's awesome. Wow,
Yeah,
Jovinko. I know my buddy listening out there. He's probably like, oh yes. All right, so so you described obviously your play style, but what other qualities do you bring to this team?
the quality that I like to bring to the team is the 100% every day, no excuses. So, I'm the young one.
Mm-hmm.
So, a lot, there's not a lot expected of me. I can make mistakes or whatnot, but something that I won't change is my work ethic.
Mm-hmm.
You can, you can mess up, but if you're giving it 100%, there's nothing that can stop you. And I think giving it 100% every day is something that I bring to the team, and just no excuses. I don't make any excuses.
So I'm gonna add one additional question, and it's not this one is not ones that I let you know beforehand, but it kind of ties into what you're talking to me right now. And I know this question. I know that because this question came to my attention when they did an interview with Andre Pierre Guignac. But my question is, in the world of soccer, what percentage do you give talent, and what percentage do you give the mental aspect of the game, of importance?
So I would give it uh, 10% to talent and 90 it's all mental. Everything is in your mind, and I've actually experienced that with the team
Mm-hmm.
because I've been since the team started way back in 2016 in the first season.
Mm-hmm.
I've been training with the first team. Also, I got to train with the first team last season and now this season, so 3 seasons in a row. And there's a difference between the academy level and the pro level,
Okay.
and it's mainly just the mental aspect of it. It's just the transitioning of your mentality of that things that you can do at your age level, you have to be able to do them against the 20, 21, 22-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And you played, I know you played a couple of minutes, correct me if I'm wrong, you played a couple of minutes against Santos Laguna. Am I
Yes,
mistaken?
correct.
What was that experience for you? Because I'm assuming that you have seen in your childhood that you've seen like Liga MX teams on TV that throughout your life. How was it that experience for you that to be playing against on the same pitch against these players that were this team that you've seen before on TV?
Yeah, no, so when I entered, I was in the third rotation, which was the team that played the last 30 minutes of the game.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw when they told us to warm up, I saw Santos' first team start to warm up also. And I was like, in my mind, I was like, I'm playing against my childhood heroes because I've been watching the league since I was young, very young.
Mm-hmm.
And when I walk in, you can, if you see the video, when I walk in, and Osvaldito Martinez is in front of me, like, I guess I was checking him out as if he were a girl. Like, I just couldn't believe that he was playing. I couldn't believe that I was playing against Javier Cortez. He's one of my favorite players from Pumas when he was at Pumas.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a hardcore Pumas fan, so that was something that I don't know. It was outstanding for me being able to play against also Gerardo Ochoa, all these great players.
Mm-hmm.
Gallito Vasquez, everything. I don't know. They're just people I saw on TV and see them face to face and actually get to share the soccer field with them.
Mhm.
It was a lifetime experience.
Definitely, and you've only got upwards to go, man. Final question before we let you go, Brandon, is do you have a piece of advice that you would like to give other players that are still in the academy, younger kids that are dreaming of becoming professionals and want to join a soccer academy? What piece of advice, since you've been through the whole process, what piece of advice would you like to give them?
I always tell the academy players every time I see them, because my younger brother's also in the academy. I tell them to not stop grinding, keep going hard, and to obviously school is first, especially in the world we live in. You need a high school degree. You need to be able to look into college. I know it's a dream of everybody going pro.
Mm-hmm.
It is, but you also have to be realistic in that a career will only last on average 3 to 5 years. So, but if you want to become a professional soccer player, you have to be willing to make sacrifices. You're gonna have to miss out on many birthdays, many family meetings, because this is what you love, and soccer becomes practically your whole life.
Definitely, man. I can't agree with you more. I think you've hit it. I think you hit it right on the head. In that aspect, that you never know. I've always been listening to a couple of more experienced players, say that. I mean, you never know when something might happen in the middle of your career, an unexpected career-ending injury, and if you're not prepared with a degree to back up as a backup plan, for any pro player, it's a lot more difficult to continue on. And definitely, my opinion, man, I think you've got the right mentality to not only tackle the professional level of soccer, but also the world out there, the adult world. I think like I said, I think you're on the right track. You've got the right mentality. Honestly, all I can say is, I commend you for it, and wish you luck, man, in your future, and hopefully you'll be able to get some minutes with this team, and we'll be able to represent our region very well.
Yes, thank you so much for having me on the show. Hopefully I can get those minutes and make the Valley proud.
Definitely, man, and keep grinding. And hopefully we can have you on once again in the future, man.
Yes, of course. Whenever you guys need me, I'm here.
Thanks, definitely, man. Thank you for coming on. Thank you, Ronnie, for making this happen. And we're gonna be going on break. And when we come back, like I said, phone lines will be open for you guys who are listening right now on YouTube. Oh, by the way, Brandon, before you go, I did have a message from Charlie Flores. He says,
Oh, yeah.
He says, Brandon es un crack. He says, keep working, bro. Big things are yet to come.
Muchas gracias, Charlie.
So when we come back, we'll talk more about the South Texas Derby. The phone lines will be open at 956-622-5977. So be sure to give us your hot takes, and be sure to also follow Brandon Morales. What's your Twitter handle?
More Brandon 10.
So be sure to follow him on Twitter. Our youngest players so far with RGV Academy, and we'll be back in just a couple of minutes. So don't go away.
Yeah.
Esta es la cara de la confianza, activada por Clearlight Cities, el único tinte que ayuda a encontrar heridas y daños. Ningún otro y cubre 100% las capacidades de energía. Clearlight Cities.
Not bad. Not bad at all, mate. Whistle.
All right, guys, we're back. We're back to continue with this discussion about the South Texas Derby. I think where we left off, we were talking about the defense. We were talking about Kyle Adams and how well he has played in this last couple of matches. Then all of a sudden, not being called as a starter. If I'm not mistaken, I think he actually played against Orange County. Was he the starting center back, Ray?
Good, excellent question there. I want to say he was in the starting 11.
Let me look at it real quick because I could swear that he did play against Orange County SC. Here is the lineup, and anytime now USL page. There. All right. Yes.
Or anytime up
Yes.
the squad.
Yeah. Against Orange County, obviously we had Tyler Derrick, Kai Green, Sheldon Sullivan, Connor Donovan, and Kyle Adams. We had the best pairing that we've had all season. We had that in that match, and it obviously didn't hurt that you had Tyler Derrick out back.
Mm-hmm.
But what we're trying to get at is, it's been apparent, who's been the best, the more consistent players in the defense, and it's no surprise that Kyle and Connor have been two of the most consistent players out there. And yet, for the most important match this season, because, it's a derby. It has to be the most important match. You technically didn't play with your best 11 out there. Yes, I do understand that, it was a difficult schedule because going back, you had 4 matches in 11 days. But I don't know. I think we could have gone with Kyle in there because we knew from the get-go that, and you mentioned it, the form that San Antonio was coming in was pretty much atypical from San Antonio.
No.
Because we know the talent of their players. Sonny Guadarrama, Ever Guzman, Charlie Ward, Lang, who had just come from FC Cincy, Matt Cardone in goal, the guy with the big beard. I mean,
He got the start.
yeah, but that was, I believe, Harry said that was because Diego Restrepo was injured. But what I'm getting at is that we know the capability of this San Antonio team, and this was a match to put in your best 11 out there for the Toros. And I feel, and that includes Kai Green, Kyle Adams, Nico Perea. I think up top it was decent. I mean, you had, well, I take that back. I do not think that this was the match to start Wilmer Cabrera Jr. I don't think so. No. There was too much at stake.
And I even mentioned in the blog that I would have preferred to have seen the Small Jones pairing once again, only because of the result that they had, that they actually had more attempts at target or on target with 8 than combined with the previous 4 matches where we had the 3 straight losses and a draw.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
That they were able to produce those opportunities based on the pace size of these players that were able to open up and dissect the Orange County defense.
And we talked about it. Orange County was one of the best defenses, if not the best defense in the Western Conference. And these two guys, Jones and Carlos Small, did whatever they wanted with them. And then now, we had to rely on seeing whether Carlos Small and Andy Cabrera, Wilmer Cabrera Jr. were compatible. This wasn't the time to be experimenting with such a young guy like Wilmer Cabrera Jr. This was to put in the most experienced, the players who gelled together more. This was a match. Obviously, we didn't know at that time that Aldo Quintanilla was injured. But this was the time to put in, like you said, Jordan Jones and Carlos Small up on top. If you wanted to play with two attackers, you could have gone with that. It was a good idea having Chuy. It's a good idea having Pablo Aguilar. Obviously, it's a good idea to have Todd Warden, But Jorginho, he's one of the guys that, he had a hell of a game against Orange County. Even I was surprised at how well he played against Orange County. And then he just went back to, on that dip against San Antonio, where Nico Perea has been a lot more consistent, and even the announcers, I believe Mike Watts was one of them who said that Nico Perea is actually the player that surprised everybody in the beginning of the season, because this was a player that last year had almost no minutes under Coach Gonzalez. Beginning of the season, it was more of the same, and I believe it was when we had our first West Coast tour, when we played Seattle 2 and Portland 2. That's where he started getting minutes, and he's played really well, and he's very consistent in regards to that, paired along with Todd Warden. And Jorginho, on the other hand, has been, whether he starts or whether he's subbed in, he's been kind of, I don't want to say like
inconsistent.
Yes, he's been very inconsistent, and more often to the bad side rather than the good side. I think I think personally, I think we let these. I'm not gonna say 3 points because then I'd be disrespecting San Antonio. But we could have left with the tie again
Absolutely.
at HB Park. I mean, we started off really well. I mean, 3 minutes into the match and Chuy Enriquez scores, which by the way was a wonderful play.
Yeah, because there was combination.
Yeah, it was a combination between, I believe it was, obviously it was Pablo Aguilar and Carlos Small, if I'm not mistaken, back to Pablo and then found Chuy Enriquez. And he was able to take the shot that, I believe it was kind of like mid-distance and that got past Matt Cardone.
Mm-hmm.
But after that, especially, and you mentioned it yesterday, we were talking last night after the match. You said the pivot of this match was when, I believe, what's his name, McCarthy?
Yes, McCarthy, who came out in the first half.
Yeah, McCarthy. That clash between McCarthy and Carlos Small.
Carlos Small.
Go ahead.
I felt like that made the. I felt like that was a little bit of the turn of the match because yes, San Antonio had some approximations. However, they weren't like they didn't have that final touch in that final third. And then they McCarthy comes off her injury. They put in an attacking player, and their buildups were more fluid, more consistent. And if it weren't for Cordy, maybe the match would have been tied at the break.
Yeah, I know he had one save, and it was a Presley shot. With Presley, like this is another young player, and Harry's not gonna let me lie, but Presley looked like one of those strikers that can pretty much, even in the most uncomfortable positions, he can get you a decent shot on frame, and that play that you're talking about that Nico Cordy sent for a corner, that was pretty much confirmed what I'm saying. I mean, he literally had to contortion himself in an awkward position to get a good shot on that ball, and that ball was going inside of the goal.
Yep.
And then, so, first half ends 1-0. Everything, like, even by that time, I was a nervous wreck. How you doing, Sean? Second half comes in. 5 minutes later, San Antonio scores.
Yep.
Presley with the goal, and then it was another. I believe that was a play where there was a complete lack of understanding of awareness from the defenders.
Yep. Yeah, and basically it was that the second goal just came on. Not off a set piece play, but it just came off a long pass from our end. They pushed it forward, and it was just a beautiful one-touch combination that Mikey Lopez was able to for that second goal, and pretty much nearly put the game to bed. If because we had a couple of opportunities to tie up that game, and one of those opportunities came when Cabrera just missed one that he could have just chipped it over Cardone, and that would have been the 2-2 game.
Yeah. But, going back, it's just, in that case, it's a lack of experience by Wilmer Cabrera Jr. that, at a young age, they tend to be like, when they're put in that position, your first instinct is to pretty much hit it as hard as you can. Where in this case, a more experienced player might do exactly what you said, which is chip it over the charge of Matt Cardone, and that would have been the 2-2. So I'm looking at the stats here from the match. Thank you, Ronnie, for the stats. So in the first half, total shots by RGV 3, Total shots by San Antonio in the first half, 11. We're seeing right there. We're seeing the dominance that San Antonio had over RGV when it came to dangerous opportunities. And there was actually a play where Manny Padilla on the build-up lost the ball and put the defense in a really awkward position. I believe it was Seth, if I'm not mistaken, who came in for McCarthy. Obviously, he had Ever Guzman and Gordon as well. You know, it was like 4 against 3 or 3 against 2. I don't recall exactly how that play went, but I do know that could have been a dangerous opportunity had it not been that they just didn't take advantage of that counter. And that could have been the 1-1 as well before that Presley shot at the end of the first half. And then in the second half, you started seeing RGV kind of be, especially in the beginning of the second half, you kind of saw RGV, being a little bit more urgent in trying to find the equalizer, or not the equalizer. Yeah, but this was after Presley scored a goal. And a little bit before, you started seeing a little bit of trying to get that 2-0 goal. Then Presley scores, and you had a couple of opportunities between Carlos, Chuy, that it was pretty much lucky by the San Antonio defenders that they were able to block the ball before it went into the net. Because in the second half, the Toros had 13 shots, total shots, 8 total shots for San Antonio. But here's the difference. Out of those 13 shots by the Toros, only 1 was on target in the second half. 2, actually, 6 of those were blocked. The other 6, the remaining 6, were off target. So we can't say that the Toros, or I can't say because I've been the one that's kind of been more active on Twitter, talking about this match. Looking at these stats more closely and with a cold head, I cannot say that the Toros did not try to at least get the 2-1 at the moment, in that specific moment that we're tied. They did not. They tried to get the win back. But, and you said it since the beginning of the show, Ray, mental lapses. And that those mental lapses cost us dearly. We go to the second goal by Lang. You had 3 players that were trying to mark Mikey Lopez. Sheldon Sullivan was one of them. And you're talking that Mikey Lopez was in the middle of the pitch. All right, outside the box, but in the middle. Sheldon Sullivan, instead of trying to mark Lang, who had drifted to the right side of the pitch, he decided he was going to cover Mikey. And Mikey took advantage of that, who, by the way, Mikey Lopez plays more experience than what his age says he is. The maturity of Mikey Lopez to wait until the perfect moment, knowing that the Toros defense were not going to pressure him off the ball because they were just pretty much waiting to see what Mikey Lopez was going to do. Wait till the perfect moment to pass the ball over to Lang. And Lang had all the time in the world to control the ball, set it up towards his left foot, and take the chip shot past Nico Corti. That just goes to show that that's one mental lapse right there. You cannot do that. Who else said it? I'm trying to remember who else made that comment. And it looks like we have let me just finish that thought before we go with Harry. so you cannot let an attacker, have all this time to control, to make yourself comfortable to take a shot on your on goal, and that was a 2-1. So we're gonna go ahead and go with the call that we have. Welcome to Down in the Valley. Who am I speaking with?
This is your friend up from San Antonio, Harry.
Harry, how's it going, man?
A lot better tonight than last night. Won't lie to you.
Well, yeah. I mean, I know you were worried in the days leading up to this match. I mean, reading on Twitter that you were extremely worried that, and if I'm not mistaken, like the day after you guys played Phoenix, you had the doubt or you had the worry that RGV was going to mop the floor with San Antonio.
When RGV scored the first goal in the 3rd minute, I was like, oh, this is happening again, because like RGV, San Antonio struggles to score. Mm-hmm. And when they get down, they kick a lot of field goals, as I say, where it seems to always go over the net. But, it's to me, like I said here, I know you guys have had a bad year, and, for San Antonio, we're struggling as well. Mm. It was a microcosm of the year and of the year for San Antonio and really for RGV as well. And even the announcers, Mike Watts, was saying, RGV typically will score early, and for whatever reason the defense lets them down. And I think you and I both know a lot of that has to do with the youth. Mm-hmm. You and I have talked about it off, on social media about, hey, having some veteran leadership, I think would make a world of difference, for RGV. Not that, I want you guys to beat San Antonio by any means, but, it's, you're a South Texas team. So, hope you guys win a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. And I mean, it helps the rivalry as well. I mean, it's not the same feeling of a derby when one or both teams are doing bad in the season than when both teams are doing good in the season. Like in 2016, you can say, where San Antonio had that opportunity to make it to the playoffs, and it just added that extra spice to that last match for this in the season and the season finale of the regular season in 2016. That was that extra spice where San Antonio needed to win to make it to playoffs, and if San Antonio did not get the result, obviously San Antonio would be eliminated. And I can assure you that must have hurt a lot, at that time, that your biggest rival, eliminated you from playoff contention.
Well, it especially did when I was there. This was the first match that, unfortunately, I missed, down in the valley just because it was on Wednesday, and, we just came back last week. We went to Phoenix, which was not fun. But to me, though, I had kind of a feeling, and I'd like your opinion on this. Normally when San Antonio and RGV play, normally you get, I don't want to say, help, but, typically you get some of those fringe MLS, USL players from Houston that come down, just because, it's close, whether it's, going to San Antonio or it's going to RGV. Mm-hmm. But this one, it was odd when, Houston called, it was a Tyler Derrick.
Yes,
Tyler
Derrick.
Mispronounced that. He got called up early that morning, and I was like, oh, that's a positive for San Antonio, because, he is a MLS, starting goaltender.
And we saw that against Orange County.
Yeah. So to me, that was the first little kind of sign where I had a feeling that this game was gonna be a little bit different, and that's why later on in the day I was like, I kind of felt San Antonio would win the game, compared to after the Swope Park game where we was doing, but it just I think San Antonio had lost 4 in a row. I don't want to say Houston weakened our RGV, because the goaltender you guys played did an awesome job, especially in the first half. And the third goal I don't blame him because it was just class by Guzman, being able to chip it over. But the reason why I called though is the second goal. If you remember, there was about 2 minutes earlier, I want to say it was about 2 minutes earlier, where basically they had the same setup. Lopez got called for a foul in the box, but they had an open net that, they ended up putting it in, but of course it didn't count, and then they just came back and ran the same play again, which to me has to do with that young defense that you guys have. But I think on the cast they said you guys don't have anybody that starts or anybody on the roster that's over 25. Which
that's correct.
Which is just kind of crazy for a Division II team playing against a lot older. I think majority some of San Antonio is probably mid 20s, late 20s.
Yes,
I think would be the average age, for them. So, but
So, do you want Ray? Do you have anything you want to say before I?
No, he was right. It was Lopez that it was on the receiving end of a foul. Towards that buildup on that second goal, he is absolutely right.
Yeah, and I think also the play before it was a header by, was it Mikey that went in?
no,
but
the foul.
Mikey started the game.
No,
I think it was a header by Landry, and that because how they had the setup, it came from that same side where they crossed it over, and RGV was too far to the left, I guess is what it would be, and the backside was open, and like I said here, I rewatched.
Because I do remember there was one play, and then I could swear that it was right before the second goal where San Antonio had scored, but it was called off for a foul.
Right, for Lopez. But it seemed like they ran that, I think there was a little bit different finish, but they went from the left, crossed it over to the right. And, they got the Lopez foul, which I couldn't see what the foul was. I tried rewatching
the camera was like a little bit late to the scene. Because by the time the camera got to that area, Sheldon Sullivan, if I'm not mistaken, was already on the ground. So we weren't able to see if there was a push by the San Antonio attacker, if he tripped or it was embellishment. I mean, we don't know because the camera just and it's been a constant problem. Jacob and I and Ray, we've been talking about it before, where sometimes the camera work at HB Park tends to be very reactive rather than proactive. Like the ball is somewhere else, and then the camera is like still in midfield or something like that.
Yeah, well, the thing
to me,
is
it's
that
too high. I think that's what the issue is, and I know that's kind of the makeup of the stadium, which you and I have kind of talked about. But I think the camera, they have it set too high to where, on that near side there, it's hard for them to get it down.
it's they have 3 cameras set up on top.
But I will say I'm scared to death of the last game because San Antonio is going to have playoffs on the line, even though it's in Toyota Field. I doubt if Houston can help RGV knock out San Antonio again. And depending on how Houston's season continues to go, it'll be very interesting.
Right?
He may be on this thing, but just to finish up on Harry's point on the camera work, there's 3 on the top and 3 at the bottom. One being on the center of the pitch, and the other ones being on the corners. As far as the camera work is concerned, and usually the 3 cameras on top, it's divided, like one's on the left, one's in the center, and the other one's on the right hand side for the camera
match compared to the 4 other games that they played and lost.
The biggest thing, and if you look at the stats, and RGV struggles with this as well, is shots on goal. Like especially where the Phoenix one where we went to, I think San Antonio had close to 20 shots and 3 were maybe on frame. Where on this one here, they had, where did it have here? I want to say they had another 20 shots on goal, but they had 9 on frame.
Yeah.
If memory serves me correct, and RGV had the San Antonio problem where they were taking shots, but they only had 2 on target. And to me, if you don't get it on target, it's that's what kills you, because that you give up the chance to get the rebound. And I know in the first half, Guzman had after a rebound he had an open net and he just couldn't get the body or get the rebound into there. But to me, that's the biggest difference with San Antonio. If they can get shots and if they can get them on target, they typically do pretty well. Also with San Antonio, if they give up 2 goals or more, and that's the key for them. And coming into this game, they had given up 2 goals or more in 4 straight, and I want to say 4 straight games, which were all losses. But if you get 2 against San Antonio, typically you're walking away with a win. So that was the big concern when RGV got the goal early on in the 3rd minute. To me, that next goal, if RGV would have kept pushing and they had some shots and we're a little bit unlucky on some. If one of those would have gone in and it would have been 2-0 RGV, San Antonio would have blown up. Let me tell you, though, because I doubt San Antonio would have came back. Down 1-0. I think Coach Powell was able to, light a fire. Because no offense, and I know we're in a better position, but San Antonio's next 2 games are against Real Monarch on Monday in Salt Lake and against Phoenix here in San Antonio, and then we go on a 3-game road trip, up through Swope Park, St. Louis, and Tulsa. Tulsa, not too much difficult, but the other 2, if they didn't get the 3 points on this one here, their playoff odds take a huge hit. And I know it pretty much kills. I think it pretty much kills you guys. I think you guys still have mathematical chance, but odds of you guys jumping as many teams, unfortunately, are pretty rare at this point.
Yeah, because we'd have to play the perfect game for every game here on out, and we would have to rely on other teams to falter on top of us in order to even have a chance to make it to the playoffs. But so you mentioned that you're even though you got the win here at HEB Park, which, by the way, was pretty much a backhanded slap by the ex-RGVFC players to the organization. And I'm not talking about Toros. And Charlie Ward said it himself that he's got a lot of respect for the Toros organization, but more importantly, towards the Houston Dynamo organization, which oversees the technical aspect of it. These three players were 2 that played yesterday, which are Escalante and Charlie Ward. It was a backhanded slap towards the Houston Dynamo. It was like, hey, you guys had us, and you totally did not take advantage or appreciate our talents, and now we're your biggest rival, and we come and beat you, slap the living crap out of you at your own home, kind of thing.
Yeah, and this goes all the way back to Sebastian, where he's turning it up in New York there to where, and I understand it's a numbers game, and Sean can speak to it a whole lot better than I can, for MLS, but the talent that slips through RGV's side because of the Dynamo, it's, and you guys have talked about it, in past of, because I personally think if Charlie Ward had the opportunity to stay there because, you know, whenever you interact with him, whenever you talk to him, you know, he doesn't say anything bad against RGV at all. And, you know, I think, you know, man to man, he probably enjoyed his time down there. But you and I both know if you get kind of burned by, you know, by the boss, it kind of sours that relationship. And unfortunately, Houston's the one that kind of soured it because, you know, to me, Charlie didn't get a whole lot of time up in Houston, from looking at the numbers. So you have to wonder, he was proven in USL, for it here, but he never got the chance to prove it up in MLS. And, that's, to me, that's one of, problems with the hybrids or the two teams, however you want to, call it with, with players that, you may get the higher level, youngsters and stuff like that and develop. And, I think, if you guys mentioned here, I think next year's team will be 10 times better if you keep the core of the team than it is this year, because they'll have that year to mature, learn each other. They'll have an off season to work together. And then next year, I think you'll see quite a bit of different team if, RGV and Houston can keep the core together.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, I think it's, I'm pretty sure you read my little thread on Twitter, and I said the exact same thing. You can't expect, one of the things that, and I've said it before, not only yet last night, but I've said it many times during the existence of RGVFC, especially since last year. One of the things that I envy of San Antonio, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people that are going to hate me for this, but one of the things that I envy about San Antonio is how consistent they are with everything. I mean, you still have your head coach, Darren Powell. Mm-hmm. You still have a lot of these players that started in 2016 are still in the organization, are still key parts of the organization. And if not key parts, they are a super sub. But they're still there with the team. They've created this culture, an identity of what San Antonio FC is. And correct me if I'm wrong when I talk about that about San Antonio. You guys already have a set identity.
But I will also say this year there is getting a little, I won't say Coach Powell's on the hot seat yet, but it's starting to warm up just because the expectations of the team was not to just sneak into the playoffs. And if San Antonio doesn't sneak in or doesn't, get into the playoffs, you have to wonder, and it's with any base when you're not performing up to standards, and I'm guilty of it myself here where, hey, we should have made it, substitution sooner or along those lines. So, but the consistency is the big thing here. But on RGV's part, if you can get it right with the current coach, and I don't want to mess up his name, Echeverria, I believe it is.
Yes.
If he can stick around for 2-3 seasons, because the first coach, Cabrera got promoted to Houston, which is a positive. Mm-hmm. Last year's coach, just didn't work. There's no way to sugarcoat it. Just like in St. Louis, they brought in a named coach and, it just flopped.
Yeah.
It just wasn't the right for the culture, and the environment. So, but it seems like you guys have a good coach that works well with, and from my understanding with the broadcast, he has a relationship with Cabrera, up in Houston. So I think you guys have found that right guy. It's just a matter of, to me, and I know you and I have kind of talked about it here, having a couple of core veterans that may never make it to the Dynamo but still provide, provide that leadership down. And I think, you and Sean, when Tyler, came down and said, hey, he would be a great benefit because he can be that coach. He can say, this is what it is, this is what it takes. To me, that's an important part of, the development, the important part of USL, because it is a Division II league. The players, are hoping to take the next step, wherever that next step is in the world. And, like I said here, having that leadership, that's somebody that's been around, a season or two, makes a world of difference. You look at Real Monarchs; they've been the best team, outside of Cincinnati, and they are a 2 team. But how they are ran, they have a core group of veterans that help monitor and mature, the young players. And as much as I'd like, RGV to suck, don't get me wrong, but to me, for the franchise, I think it would be better if they had 2-3 players that would be designated, hey, you're going to be more of a leadership role, maybe more, hey, this is your step into coaching, whether it's with Houston or, elsewhere, to where you can get that maturity, with the youngsters.
Ray?
Last night, and I didn't bring this up at all, and I'll bring it up here. I was able to talk to Coach Powell after the game last night. Extraordinary human being. It was the second time that I had talked to Coach Powell since he joined since he was named head coach, and he goes, "Man, you guys have something special down here, and it's a shame that it's gone the way it has." And that was very classy of Coach Powell for him to say that. And I just don't feel that Coach Powell's seat is getting warm, nor in this.
Coach Powell last night, and he said that that we had at RGV, we had something special, but that he was kind of sad how things have gone for the as far as the organization when it comes to results. And he was just saying that because of that, Ray feels like it's something classy about him, shows what kind of person Coach Powell is, but also the fact that he feels that it might not necessarily be that Coach Powell's seat is getting warm or anything like that. It's just that pretty much, their priority right now is try to get to the playoffs as best as you can, because once you're in the playoffs, it's a completely different tournament and anything can happen.
Right. And getting warm, I mean by the fan base. Mm-hmm. There's, it's, the fans are unhappy that we're in 9th, 10th place, and coming off how we lost. Because we lost to Seattle 2, we lost to Portland. Both of those were on the road. We got embarrassed by Phoenix, and then to come home and lose to Swope in a pretty big game. Between they were 8-9 matchup, and to lose at home to Swope Park. It's just the fans were a little ruffled. Where it's starting to come up. Hey, where last year the question wouldn't ever be, hey, is Coach Powell's seats warm if we don't make the playoffs? Mm-hmm. And that's why it's starting to get warm. I don't think it's there yet. Because if San Antonio goes on a run and they make the playoffs, I can definitely see them sticking around. But if they don't make the playoffs, I think that could crack the door open a little bit. The problem is Coach Powell's, as you mentioned, he's great. Not only with the team, but he's great with the academy, and it's a young academy like you guys have through there. He does so much more, than just on the pitch, and he's got all the, I think he's one of 3 coaches in the United States that have the top professional license. So, he's got a smart, he's smart. He knows what he's doing. I think the biggest complaint with us is, we're very defensive, but we always seem to struggle offensively. And I think that's the problem with RGV this year is, I think you guys, nobody ever scores on you guys outside of, this last game here at RGV. I think you had 3 or 4 or 5 games where it's been 0-0, there at HEB Park.
Yes.
And they even said on the broadcast, you guys have 12 ties, right? I think you guys had more ties than you had combined, wins and losses. Mm-hmm. So it's not that and you look at your goal difference, it's only -7. So I think it's just one of those years where, and it could just be due to the youthful age where, and you guys have kept saying this, where, it's that one or two mistakes that hurt you, and where you're offensively challenged like San Antonio, that one or two mistakes, is huge. It's not like we're both putting up goals. If you get one or two goals a game, you consider that a good game. But yet, if you give up that one goal, instead of walking away with three, you're only walking away with one.
Yeah. So, why, even with all of this, the fact that you beat us at home, why do you still have some worry when it comes to the regular season finale?
Because RGV is a solid team. You look at who San Antonio's tied Tulsa. San Antonio's lost to Seattle too. We've tied and won against RGV. Tied against Los Dos. And those are the 13 through 17, the bottom of the West. So San Antonio, when you play a defensive side or a defensive game, and that's your thing there, one goal can make a huge difference. And RGV is only getting better. I think you've seen, like Seattle tied, St. Louis last night. It's, the two teams, the hybrid teams, with the MLS talent, they are getting better, further, and especially towards the end of the season. And, this RGV is going to be coming to get revenge, come the last game of the season. I don't any of them liked the result that happened last night. And, I know you and most of the fan base was, not in the best mood, we'll just say, with the result. And, anytime you feel like you get embarrassed, and that's why next Saturday, not this Saturday, but the following Saturday, we get Phoenix back. I expect that to be, one of the classic games, just because San Antonio's got so much to prove, and RGV will have so much to prove. And like I said here, if Houston's not playing that night, or they're playing in Houston, and if they're out of the playoffs, I don't think they're out yet, but let's say if they're out of the playoffs, you can't tell me that maybe one or two fringe MLS players might catch a flight or drive over to San Antonio, because it's very easy to do. And we both know that the rivalry matters.
Yes.
It matters. It matters to Houston Dynamo. It matters to RGV. And I think the reason why it matters goes all the way back to the Scorpion years. When Houston lost, an Open Cup to San Antonio. So there's always that little friendly rivalry that we have, that, if RGV can, say, hey, our season, wasn't the greatest, but we knocked San Antonio out of the playoffs. You can't tell me going into the off season, you guys would have a little bit better pep in your step.
I definitely would agree with that sentiment, because we're at a point where we're just going to be playing spoiler, and if we can spoil the opportunity for our biggest rival, that's going to be, I guess you can say, like a mediocre consolation prize, because when this team started, when Coach Echeverry said they were going to work on building, a playoff capable team, and it's just the way it's been worked on, by the circumstances, it just hasn't happened. But do you have? Oh man, Harry, do you have anything else you wanna talk about?
No, the only thing that I'll say is, I love the banter that goes on between the Stampede and Mission City and the Crocketeers and 210 Alliance. I think it's pretty healthy banter that goes on, and it's to me, I think it'll be interesting when Austin comes in next year, for, just to kind of see how that dynamic works with the three of us, because I still think, Austin will be a rival for you guys as well, just because, it's still a Central South Texas team. And to me, going, back to your conversation with Brandon, and I put it on the chat here, I think it's awesome that, all three teams, San Antonio has Ethan Bryant, who just turned 17, who plays in the attacking mid. I guess Austin signed Julian Gaines, who's 15 years old, up there to one of those academy contracts. And then, of course, you guys, signed Brandon. So the future looks bright for all of us, and, especially, to me, I think that's the main thing that I know you and I want, is to help build the game and help build the rivalries. And I think the youth is going to be the way to do that, whether it comes, from the MLS draft from you guys, or, through your academy or our academy, because, that's the future of the game for us.
Definitely. So, you are obviously a part of San Antonio podcast as well. If anybody out there that's listening is interesting to listen to you guys, where can they find you?
The podcast is on YouTube. It's SA Roundtable. We're on Twitter as well, through there. For me, I think most of you guys know, but it's at RAMINCO. Ramen Call is where you can find me on Twitter. And like I said here, I enjoy the banter that goes back and forth. And I'm kind of sad that Jacob isn't here, because my first interaction with him was a little rough, but he has that a little bit more important, and hopefully they can perform a little bit better this year than last year for him. That's you're an Aggies fan, but no, like Twitter's there, and then like I said here, I know you and I chit chat, and like I said, if you ever have any questions, if you're ever in San Antonio, if you have questions, don't be afraid to ask. Like I said here, I'll I may give you a little bit of grief, but I'll typically treat you guys always with respect and stuff like that. And,
no, definitely,
if you are,
definitely, and we saw that when Sean and I went to the preseason match over there at Toyota Field, and we're really appreciative of how well of a host you were to us. So we actually have plans to go to the season finale. So hopefully we'll be over there in San Antonio for that match. But before I go, Harry, there's a little proposition that I want to make for you for this last match. It's a little wager, no money involved. Well, actually, let me explain. So the way I want to do this is, the loser of the last match has to wear the jersey of the rival team. So in my case, if San Antonio wins, I would have to wear the San Antonio jersey live on the show, vice versa for you. If the Toros win, you would have to wear a Toros jersey for live on the show.
I can do that. We can set up on down in the valley here, or Gen Orange. Have the video capability, and we can do that. I know you already got the scarf, and I'm sure a jersey will look well for you as well. Because no offense, but I think you're the underdog, unless you're going to be talking to Sean, who can whisper in some ears there, in Dynamo Land. Send down some of the top 11, since they maybe already been eliminated, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I mean, we can after the show we can kind of settle some details on how we want to do it. But I mean, if you accept, then we can go ahead and do that. I
ate a pepper last. I said that San Antonio would reach the Western Conference Finals, and as we know, they lost in penalties in the semifinals. So with one of your BGN compadres rising as one, podcast
Yes.
in Phoenix, and Dominic, unfortunately, I had to eat one of the hottest peppers in town. We got, go to Whole Foods, and I videoed it, or my wife videoed it, and we sent it to them. So yeah, no, I'm good for my bets, and like I said, I already got the RGV scarf from when I was down there. So yeah, it's I don't mind you wearing the San Antonio jersey instead of the orange thing there, and maybe if you happen to get one of those orange cowboy hats as well, we can put that on as a topper, from the giveaway.
Oh man. Yeah, I'm gonna see. I want to see who got one, or if there were any extras, because I liked it. Because they block the sun, if anything like that. But like to go out there on the streets with it, nah, it's too cheapy.
Yeah, no.
But,
it's a sponsor thing. I understand that. But, like I said here, but at least you got the sponsors. That's the important thing. But that giveaway, I was like, I don't know.
All right, man. Well, thank you so much, Harry, for calling on the show. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate your inputs from the San Antonio perspective on this South Texas Derby from yesterday. And best of luck to San Antonio until they play against the Toros in that season finale, man.
Yeah. Hopefully it matters. Like I said here, hopefully both teams are still fighting for something, and like I said here, but definitely will look good. You'll look good in that San Antonio jersey, and we'll talk off air. And like I said here, if you ever have any questions for anybody that's listening, don't be afraid to look me up on Twitter. And like I said here, definitely an open door here for you guys.
Definitely, I really appreciate it, Harry. And so have a good night, man, and we'll continue talking after the show.
You too. Bye.
All right, bye. Well, guys, so I'm extremely disappointed, guys, that a San Antonio fan called the show and spoke his opinions on the game before an RGVFC fan ever did. So, yeah, not looking good, guys. Just messing with you guys. So, Ray, what else is there to add about this match?
There really isn't all that much to add to this. I mean, it was as I grew up hearing, that was just an old-fashioned butt whipping in the second half.
Yeah, definitely. So the match ended 3-1. The third goal was just pure, absolute brilliance from Ever Guzman, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I mean, shows right that he played in the U17 World Cup with Mexico.
2005?
Yep, or I want to say it was that one. Yes.
Yeah, because I think he was from the misma camada de Gio dos Santos and Carlos Vela.
He was a phenomenal talent.
Yeah, and that was just absolute brilliance. Like right on the bounce, be able to see where Corti was and just kind of tap it just enough for it to go over Nico Corti, and just enough for it so that the ball would drop before the crossbar. And that was a beautiful goal. It was a beautiful cross, but I continue to say that, that was just horrible defending. The line just wasn't. It just wasn't ready. They didn't expect it, but you're supposed to expect these kind of things. And Nico Corti, I don't think he had anything that he could have done, because he was in the right position, considering the fact of how high the defensive line was playing right before that play. But so let's go ahead. So we pretty much talked about everything that happened in the match. I do want to cover some things that happened post-match. And let's start with our team, which is RGVFC. What what did you see out of Coach Echeverry? Because you talked to me about it last night, and it was completely interesting. Listening Jerson Echeverry's reaction.
Well, I mean, it wasn't. I'd say this. Um, he pretty much uh he pulled aside Chewy and Enriquez. Had a nice little powwow with, and it was just one of those learning curve moments for Chewy himself. And it was just something of a learning curve as we see Chewy Enriquez get more minutes and even starts as well. That some of the work is starting, and that some of that is starting to blossom in on the pitch as well.
Yeah. I think, the way I see it is that I think Coach understands that Chuy Enriquez has some talent, but he might see like some things that maybe he's not playing to his full potential, or he's doing
which
something.
which is why I'm that the that that mature and those learning stages, like after the game when he talks to him, um, and maybe it's just to address things a little differently, and it's been showing with his latest starts that he's been getting recently, and that's why he's been in fine form these last few games, despite the results not being there.
Yeah, I mean, he's shown. He's shown a lot of improvement since the beginning of this season. He's right now he's our leading goal scorer. He's got
Hmm.
5 goals. He surpassed Alo Quintanilla's 4 goals, and he's had a couple of I guess assists as well. So he's on the right. He's on the right path. But like you say, there's just something about him that maybe the coach doesn't, thinks he can do more. So let's go ahead and take
Well,
a go ahead.
this isn't about like having a bit more extra effort. You got to keep in mind he's a 19, 20-year-old, but then again, he
23, I
has that
believe.
maturity of that
Hmm.
19, 20-year-old.
Okay.
Where you may have a 26, 27-year-old, he's pulling off some extraordinary plays where say a 19, 20-year-old may not have, and thus they're playing at the level that they're at the moment.
So let's take a listen on Coach Echeverry's press conference. So let's see what he had to say.
It was a great combination play. We moved the ball, around. We were very dynamic. The movement of the ball was tremendous, and just the one touch and two touch playing of the ball. When Chewy finally got it, there were runs made. Everything opened up. He dribbled a little bit, picked the corner. It was a wonderful goal.
After that, there was some other set pieces. Carlos Small was involved in some as well. Can you talk about some of those plays?
Yeah, we had a couple opportunities in the corner. The clearest one was one in which Carlos took over, cut it back to Pablo. He hit it, and the keeper made a save. If we scored that one, who knows what happens. Then the game started coming back and forth. They made a couple of adjustments, and I thought we were a little sloppy at times with the ball, with our clearances. We lost the ball in places where we shouldn't, and they were a little dangerous. We were fortunate enough to. Unfortunate not to score a couple goals, and also fortunate to not give up a goal or two because of our silly mistakes. And then we got into half, and so it was at least 1-0 at half.
Talk about the performance of Nico Forte. He had some various key saves in first half, and in the second half, it kind of the defensive lapses showed up. How do you judge his performance tonight?
It was good. I mean, he made some big saves. I think on on 2 of the goals. There's not much he can do. He got caught, with one ball through. Got caught in no man's land. The guy just chipped it for the third one. The first goal, we lost our mark. The ball comes across. He's moving across, and the ball hit against the grain. So as you're moving, your emotions going one way. Nothing he can do. And then also the second goal, The guy just shipped it right over him. I don't know the distance, because it looked like it was in the middle of the goal, but he might have, been up a little bit too far. But we can't let a lefty on his left foot shoot it with his left, and we have to be better defensively there, and those are defensive lapses.
Okay, a couple of absences that I saw that were not on the team sheet. Aldo Coutinho and Bryce Marion. Tactical?
No, Aldo's injured. No, and Bryce, yeah, was tactical.
Tonight we also saw the debut of Romelio Fernandez. Talk about his performance tonight.
Yeah, I mean, it was towards the end. We felt that there was from the fatigue of the last 3 games that we've been playing Saturday, Wednesday. We felt at one point that Jorginho was getting a little tired, and his mobility wasn't what had been the previous 2-3 games, and so we decided to put in. Romelio has done very well sitting in the middle of the park. He's a technical player who wins a lot of balls in the middle, but he can also spread the ball out. He's got good size. He's athletic, and so we felt that he'd been with us and training with us. We finally got a chance to sign him, and he's been doing very well in training. So with so many tired legs and so many games, we felt that we wanted to see and get some fresh legs in there.
All right. So he mentions, and I know it was a surprise to almost everybody that was in the match, that Romelio Hernandez was on the bench. This was a player that there was no announcement that we had signed him, no idea that he was even with the team, because in your interview that you had with him, he mentioned that he has been with the team, practicing with the team for 2 months now.
Yeah, I mean, the guy was basically a free agent. I mean, he didn't fit into Rising Phoenix's plans, based on some of the information what I had gathered. He had no playing minutes prior to the season. He spent a portion of time with Phoenix last, and it was just one fell on his lap type of thing.
So what? So I'm assuming because he talked about Jorginho when you talked about Romelio. So we can safely assume that Romelio Hernandez is a central defensive midfield.
Yes.
Okay, and out of all the information from what you've gathered from him, we know. I mean, you mentioned that yes, he hasn't gotten any minutes, but did he play at the university level before Phoenix Rising, or?
No, he was an original draft pick by the Portland Timbers,
Okay.
and then he played sometime with the Timbers too, and then was let go by the Timbers and was picked up by Phoenix Rising last season, and he came off a little bit of an injury, or not as an injury. He just had like a big layoff, and
Mm-hmm.
pretty much he was training with the team for 2 months, just trying to get into paperwork and trying to find the necessary slot,
Yeah.
and that's why there was a few roster slots opened with Zach Wright being released, John Montano,
And Guillermo Delgado.
and Memo Delgado.
So, talked about Romelio. So he's been pretty much a French player with really not much of an idea on how he plays. Do you think he'll be a good fit? From what I know, it was very little time that he played, but do you think he would be a good fit with the Toros?
I absolutely think so. I mean, now that the playoffs are starting to look more and more distant, I do see him fitting into the Jorginho Jones role.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, based that some of these guys have had a lot of minutes logged in, I do expect an increased playing time for him, and just to verify, Aldo just posted something on his He is recovering from what seems to be an apparent leg injury.
Wow, that was sudden. I mean, there was no indication from his post on Instagram, because he posts on Instagram like almost every day. But there was no indication that he got into an injury. I mean, which I want to say, I really want to say, want to think that might have been in training, where he got that injury.
Mm-hmm.
So moving on. So we talked about Coach Echeverri, talked about Romilio, and I did want to bring this up on the show because, and we talked about it with Harry, because he, in my opinion, even though he's playing with San Antonio right now, in my opinion, Charlie Ward is an RGVFC legend.
Yes.
For me. He had some harsh words for the Dynamo organization, not the Toros organization, the Dynamo organization.
That is leaning towards Generation Orange, but okay.
I mean, I know. The reason I bring it up here rather than Generation Orange is just pretty much to assure fans, because probably people are thinking, well, might have some hard feelings towards Charlie Ward, saying, oh, well, like he went with the rival, he doesn't care about RGV, blah 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 blah. That's not the case. This was something that was out of his control, that even he didn't agree with, and it just so happened that he was treated like he was treated, and San Antonio offered to pick him up from the street where he was kicked out of in Houston, and it's not like he's in a position to say no just because they're the rival of his former team, and that's not how it works. I mean, he's got to get money somehow. So, if anybody out there, RGV fan, thinks that Charlie Ward disrespected Toros or had left some ill feelings from the Toros because of Houston, that's not the case, and this is coming straight from Charlie Ward's mouth. He respects the team. He respects the Toros organization. He respects the fans. He's very grateful with us, how we treated him, how we loved him. And he'll always have that in a special place in his heart. That, yes, he understands, like, even because of that, he still has to respect that, he's playing with San Antonio now. But he says he'll never forget where he came from. The team that offered him the opportunity to start his career in the United States, which was the Toros. Obviously, the whole Dynamo organization is a completely different story. So just wanted to bring that up in that regards, if anybody has any thoughts with Charlie Ward. Hopefully we can get into a little more detail and play the clip on Generation Orange on Tuesday, because we are running out of time right now as well. It's already 9:00. But I will post it. I will post it on YouTube during the weekend, so you guys can take a listen to it. And there are some harsh words out there, but Charlie Ward was not afraid to say it. So I think it's pretty much, and I think it's better for you to listen to the exact words that he said rather than me paraphrase it, because it leaves it any paraphrasation. You leave it up to interpretation, which can be opposite or have a completely different meaning than what the original person actually meant when he said those words. So I will be posting that video on Down in the Valley's YouTube. So you might want to have a listen to that, and you make your own decision whether you believe Charlie or you don't believe Charlie. But I think he was pretty frank about everything. And so just pretty much wishing the best. But we have our own players that we have to support. And that is Chuy, Aldo, Todd, Jorginho, Nico, everybody who's out there in RGVFC. Yes, sometimes we do have some stuff where we don't agree with how they play, yada, yada, yada. But in the end, once that whistle blows, it's support for the team. We want this team to win. We want this team to succeed. And whoever says otherwise about me is lying. So go out there, support the team. Yes, I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. We are doing bad. But, this is a long process. And if you give up on this team now, these kids need your support. A lot of these guys most of these guys, if not all of them, they're pouring their hearts out every game. So go out there and support the Toros. But as well, be sure to voice your concerns, voice your opinions in any platform that is given to you, whether it's us and Down in the Valley, the Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Voice your concerns about how this organization is being run, because believe it or not, they're listening. They are reading everything that you say, everything that you write, and they do take that into consideration. So be proactive in that instance. Be a proactive fan in that regard for the Toros. But this is all that we pretty much have for today. Ray, thank you so much for joining us on the episode today, giving us the insight on what happened yesterday in the match. And hopefully next week against Phoenix Rising, we can get a better result. As well as against Real Monarchs, which, by the way, next Saturday is a doubleheader. I believe it's at 5 p.m. Tigres versus Atlas, then at 8 p.m. Toros versus Real Monarchs. So one ticket guarantees you an entrance to both games. So be sure, if you're going to go to see Tigres or Atlas, yes, go. But go ahead and stay and support your local team. Support your Toros as well. They need your support as well, because they're representing, unlike Tigres and unlike Atlas, these guys are representing your region. And I think this team should be supported, if not just because they're from the region, but it's one of the reasons why they should receive the support from the people in the Valley. Having said all of this, Ray, like I said, thank you so much. And my name is Edson Ochoa. And on behalf of Ray, on behalf of Cesar, on behalf of Jacob, we really appreciate, thank you, with all of our hearts, for putting the trust that you all have on us to bring you all information about the team, information about the players, what's going on, discussion, hot takes, maybe things that you never thought about, why this team works the way it does. That's what we're here for. And we're also here to bring you guys a platform. On the show, every show, our phone line will be open. If anybody wants to talk about the Toros, we're more than happy to let you talk for 30 minutes, 45 minutes. It doesn't matter. But we want the people of the Valley to have a say in this team, to let the organization know that we aren't just hiding. The fans are not just hiding behind a keyboard. That we have a voice that suffers. We have a voice that supports this team. But there's some things that are good. There's also things that could be improved. And hopefully next week we can have you all back next Thursday as well, because of the midweek game against Phoenix Rising. Thank you all so much. Be sure to keep an eye out on SoundCloud for the podcast version of this show. And the day later, after I post it on SoundCloud, is usually when Mike Sparks from the Beautiful Game Network posts the podcast on Google Play Store, iTunes, and Stitcher. And if you guys have missed part of the show, or you guys came in late, don't worry. The video, the stream video, is available to watch completely on YouTube right after the stream ends. So if you guys need to catch up, you can go ahead and do so like that. Until next week, we bid you all a good weekend. Hashtag we are Toros. Hashtag somos Toros. Take care.
I carried you home, taking all the weight off your shoulders. Now we're long gone, falling into 1 year older. It's funny how our love began when I was sober. Now I stumble in a room.